get to be any little thing that we want to be. No matter what comes our way, we'll be together, together.
Welcome to Homeschooling Down South. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Kat. We're two Southern homeschooling mamas sharing real talk, resources, and inspiration for life and learning in the Southeast.
Each week, we'll chat with inspiring voices in the homeschool community, highlight must-see nature spots and field trip gems, and share resources from across the region.
Whether you're new to homeschooling or a seasoned pro, pull up a chair and join us as we celebrate the joy, freedom, and community of homeschooling down south.
We'll laugh together, we'll learn together, find the joys in life together, give each other grace and space to be.
Welcome back, everybody. This week we are talking about Red Clay State Historic Park in Cleveland, Tennessee. We went last week and had the best time.
The very best time. But I have to ask you, because I've been just calling it Red Clay State Park this whole time, is State Park and State Historic Park two different things?
So I think so. This is my first time going to a Tennessee state park. And in Georgia, the state parks that are more kind of focused on nature and camping, those are state parks. And then the historic sites are still run by the same organization, but they are classified as historic sites. And so what I'm thinking is that maybe in Tennessee, the state parks, if they have a historical element, which Red Clay State Historic Park certainly
Definitely.
does. Yeah. So when they have a deep historic element, I'm thinking they kind of lump them together, which would be a little bit different than the state of Georgia. And I did some looking at the Tennessee State Park system over the last couple days after going, because we had just the most amazing experience. We went
Yep.
with the Wild and Free group that we're a part of. And so then I was just curious about other Tennessee state parks because it was so interesting. And I didn't see the historic as part of the name of other ones.
Okay.
So that's definitely an intentional choice when it comes to red clay.
Okay. Well, how did you find Red Clay?
Going into this year of leading the Wild and Free group that we have here in Northwest Georgia, I really needed some new places on our list. I needed to kind of shake it up. Some of the places we go were getting stale. They're not bad. We've been going to them for 3 years. This is our 4th year as a group. And so I made a radius around our central point that everything's going to be within an hour of this place. And I realized, oh, there's a couple places up in Tennessee. I knew Chattanooga because we go to Chattanooga and we do that drive, but I just was more unfamiliar with kind of the other parts of southern Tennessee and what fits in that radius for us within an hour drive. And there was Red Clay State Historic Park. So I pulled up the website and I was so thrilled with how easy it was to request a field trip.
You did that all online? You didn't have to call or anything?
Yes, everything was online. There is a form to request a field trip. And as I was filling out the form, I realized, oh, this is going to be free for my group, which is
Amazing.
such a win because we do have families for whom the field trips, as cool as they might be, the cost is just sometimes really high. There was no minimum head count, which is the biggest gift
Praise the Lord.
to any homeschool group. And it just was a really easy form to fill out. And I filled it out in August and was requesting a February field trip date. So I didn't get like an immediate response. I got your request has been received and a ranger will be in touch with you. And so then I got a couple weeks later an email from Taylor Young, who is an interpretive ranger at Red Clay State Historic Park. And she came back with different options of what we could do for our field trip. And what was really cool is that I kind of liked a couple of the options. And she ended up saying, well, then let's kind of create what you want. So it wasn't specifically one program or another. It was kind of this like
Hodgepodge.
hodgepodge of the things that I thought would be good for our group. And what's interesting is Taylor Young, who was our interpretive ranger on our field trip, has just recently won an award for outstanding new interpreter as of last
Is that
year.
like a statewide thing? Like,
She won a national award.
oh,
It's from the
wow.
National Association for Interpretation, the 2025 Outstanding New Interpreter.
Look at her go. Well, listen, after the program that she put on, I would say that she's very deserving.
Agreed. So, yeah, let's talk about
Yeah.
our
Yeah,
expe
okay, so real quick though, do you
Yes.
remember what the other options were? Because we did the All About Mammals and the nature journaling. Do you remember any of the other options?
I don't remember exactly what the other options were, but I know some of them were more on the historic side
Okay.
of the park. So the park itself has a lot of Cherokee history. And so there was a lot of options that were related to that. And I can tell also a little story about some of what I saw when
Yeah.
we were there. But there were other nature things. And some of them I think were more hikes. And we do a lot of hikes. And I knew that sometimes we have some kids who don't love the long hikes and the talking on the hikes, and I thought it might feel too similar to our regularly scheduled programming, and so I really wanted to pick something that would feel different from what we normally do, and the historical stuff seemed like it might just be a little bit advanced
Advanced.
for the average age of our kids. There's certainly kids in our group who it would have been right on target for, but not the average age of our group. But because I had never been, I got there about an hour and a half early last week, packed our lunches. So we sat and ate our lunches, and then we did a little hike, just my son and I. And while we were sitting there, Taylor was leading what was clearly another homeschool field trip for a group. And she let us know later that she's been working with that group for 5 years. And that was a field trip that was clearly more focused on the historical aspects of the people who've lived on this land. And those kids were getting to see some historic weapons. And the oldest kids in that group got to try out the blow darts.
I love it.
It was so fun and cool to watch. I was watching and I was trying to also redirect my son because I knew if my son saw it, he
You
would
would
want
think
to
that's
do
what
it.
we were doing, yes.
And we were not. We were not. But so there was a whole breadth of
Yeah.
things ranging from the nature, just the nature that is available at a state park, to the historic aspects that they can focus on specifically and go really in depth on the Cherokee history there. So
Yeah,
there was
I
a
did
lot of
like
choice.
yeah, and I did like that they had a lot of the historical stuff. They had, like, replicas of what the huts would have looked like they built them like the Native Cherokee people would have built them, and I did like that aspect of it. It was really cool to see.
Yeah. And you and I with our kids stayed longer than anyone else in our group, and we actually
Yeah,
ended up inside the visitor center
yeah.
walking around in there. And
So
there
cool.
was some really cool interactive things
Yeah,
related to that history as well.
yeah, yeah. Okay, well, let's chat about the program, and then we can chat all about that because that part was super cool. But
Yeah.
the program started out they have this, like, little auditorium? I mean, it's got, like, theater seating a little bit, like, it's at an angle and the seats, fold down, and they had pelts and skulls out on the table, and it was neat because there were a few of us on this field trip who had also attended the Arrowhead trip, and so those kids were like, "Oh, are we gonna play that game?" And the Rangers were like, "What are y'all talking about?" And so we shared with them about the game that we played at Arrowhead, and they were like, "That is a great idea." But they were able to talk about again, we learned more about with the skulls, the size of the eyes and the nose and the teeth, what senses are important to this animal based on what you can see from their skull. And a lot of them already knew what each animal was when they held up the pelt. But where I just really felt like the Rangers shined in this part of it is she was so good, Taylor was, at managing kids who wanted to ask questions or tell stories about acknowledging them and letting them know that there would be space to do that, but right now we're gonna talk about this so that we can stay on track for the program. And I just thought in the homeschool setting where you're dealing with age ranges, she handled it so well. I was just, like, blown away. I think that was the point. I think you and I, like, looked at each other and you mouthed, "She's so good," at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah. And we've been around a lot of really great programmers, but I think she handled that aspect of
Mhm.
the dynamics of a homeschool group better than I've ever seen anyone else handle it.
100%.
And she did a really good job of she kept getting down on their level.
Mhm.
She made sure she said, "I want all the kids in the front row." And, that was like a gentle way to tell us to kinda sit back, stand
Yeah.
back, and stand aside a little bit, which is, I think, a great reminder for us mamas. We can step back and let someone else lead that teaching of our kids, and she was crouched down with them, and she was really listening to them and observant. She was observing the kids who weren't talking as much, and she was saying things like, "Let's let someone who hasn't had a chance
Yeah.
to speak." She really did a good job, but she did it in that way where it didn't feel like she was stifling any of the kids who were maybe a little bit more gregarious, and
Yeah.
it didn't feel like she was singling out any of the kids who were maybe a little more reserved.
Yeah.
She just did a really good job of engaging them all. And when she was showing them the pelts, she was asking them to talk about similarities and
Mhm.
differences. She was really engaging their critical thinking by talking about the senses and then what do you feel in this animal and like what do you think about where it lives. She had cool stories. Like she was telling us a story about the bobcats, right? Was it bobcats or was it lynxes?
I think it was the bobcat.
And how then she, like, referenced orcas, killer whales, and how their coloring, the whites of their bellies
Yes.
and the black on top is a way that helps them hunt because when another marine animal is looking up and there's an orca, is it orca or killer whale? I'm never sure which is the right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't come at me, listeners. Whichever one you prefer. I'm choosing both. But so, like, a dolphin would look up and the white belly would look like the sky. And then
Yeah.
she showed them the pelt and she explained how the bobcat's belly is white also for that same reason. So that when a squirrel or a bunny looks up in the tree where the bobcat hunts from, it looks like the sky, but it has differently from the killer whale, the orca, it has spots on its belly to kind of mimic the leaves in the
Mhm.
trees. She just was really knowledgeable and told cool
Yeah.
stories like that one. And she also kept looking up at the mamas and saying to us, whenever this feels like it's done, it can be done. It wasn't like we are going to sit here and get through exactly this programming and I know part of that was it was a beautiful day. We lucked out and got just amazing weather, and she kept saying, like, "We're gonna go outside in this amazing weather. We're not gonna stay inside during this." But it didn't have that feeling of, like, "This is the program, and we're gonna get through exactly this content." And yet, she still was able to keep them on track and focused, but with this very flexible guidance.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah, I felt like she was really, like, taking the pulse of our group, and she wanted
Mhm.
our group to have the best time for our group. Not,
Yes.
"This is the formal program that we do for everyone. It looks the same every time, and this is what you're gonna get." It very much was like, "We will sit here and talk about these pelts as long as y'all want to. We will also get up and go outside, like,
Yeah.
at any point in time." And they
Yeah.
even were super accommodating. We had a little wiggly one, and they even brought him, like, a little seat to sit on that would kinda help him wiggle in his seat, and, of course, all the kids then were like, "I want one."
Yes. Yes.
But it
Yeah.
was just very they were very cognizant of the group that they were working with, and I really
Yes.
appreciated that.
Yeah. And then there was a point where Ranger Taylor kinda said, "Okay, I think we are all antsy.
Mhm.
Let's move outside." And she also had with her, we haven't mentioned yet, but a seasonal interpretive ranger at the park named Ranger Aubrey, and she did some of that mammal guiding too, but I feel like she got really involved as we moved outside.
Yeah.
So I was so excited to schedule the next part of our field trip because it was the first time I've seen someone offer in our area a nature journaling workshop,
Mhm.
which is something that I'm super into. And I just hadn't introduced it to our group yet. And this felt like a really great way to do that. So that's what we moved outside to do was our nature journal workshop.
And here's the thing, I was very unsure of this part of the field trip because once I am given clear instructions, I am a self-starter. You can trust me to get the thing done. But when I am not given clear instructions, when I'm just given, like, a free-for-all, I kinda struggle a little bit. And I'm not a journaler. It's funny because, like, when my daughter has to write a lot in language arts, she's like, "Oh, my hand hurts." And I'm like, "Girl, I know exactly what you're talking about because that's me. I don't like to write a lot." So if I'm like journaling anything, it's on the computer or I'm doing voice notes. And I've never understood when people are like, I'm nature journaling. What do you mean by that? I don't understand. You're just like going outside. I saw a butterfly. But my daughter is very into the idea of journaling. And of course, I think I've talked about it before. She's super artsy. And what I imagined was that my son was going to be into it for 5 seconds and then he was going to move on and want to go run around and play. But they were so good at breaking this down. They had little journals to hand out to all the kids. They had markers, they had pencils. And the other thing I loved is they explained why this is important. Why it is important for you to date and time your journal entry, because it also helps them when they're tracking birds or plants or what is going on in nature. They can use, what is it called? Citizen scientists?
science.
Yeah. They can use that data. And I think that was kind of empowering. And when I tell you, every time my daughter made a new entry, she asked me what time it was so that she could make sure she had the right time. But they gave a prompt and it was, I noticed. I
wonder.
wonder. And what was the third
And
one? I
I
can't remember the third.
think.
I think. Okay.
Was that your
I
first time
noticed.
hearing that?
Yes, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, we use it all the time. I was really impressed to see it like in this context.
Yeah.
But yeah, I notice, I wonder, I think. And it's just really helpful for guiding kids to know what they're out there supposed to be doing. Because it's like, okay, so do I just draw whatever I see? When we first sat down, there was a bunch of hawks. And so she was like, let's do it with the hawks. What do you notice about the hawks? And within like a few minutes, the hawks have moved on.
Yeah.
But it gave us that idea. And I actually sat there and journaled about, I notice there are several hawks here. I wonder if there is something in the grass drawing their attention. And then my I think was, I think we scared them away.
I definitely agree with you on that one.
But it just helps you because I'm learning how to nature journal alongside my son. It's not something I had ever done before or really thought about doing. And so it helps me too to model it for him because otherwise I'd be like, I don't know what we're supposed to be doing. I don't know. I see a tree. Should I
Right.
draw that tree?
Right.
And I loved when the kids were expressing things that they noticed or wondered. If they asked a question, then Ranger Taylor would say, yeah, that's a really great observation. Do you want an answer to that?
Yes, that was so genius.
Or do you want to figure it out on your own? And I was like,
or do you just want to express wonder?
yeah. And I was like, I'm writing that down because I need to be better at that and not just jumping right to giving an answer.
Yeah.
Especially the things I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that is almost an even better way to say, do you want an answer to that? And if my son says yes, then I can say, well, we're going to have to figure it out together because I don't know.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, I don't know.
Yeah. Which
Don't
is
ask me
generally
things
my
I don't
go-to.
know. Don't ask me things I don't know. Yeah, it was so well done and also very loose at the same time.
Very loose. And my son surprised me. I knew my daughter would be into it, and she was. I mean, she spent the whole time going around drawing things and journaling about them. And I thought my son would just like draw pictures, but he wanted to write too. And so he would ask how to spell things. And when I was around, I would help him work through it. But I noticed, like, I had gone over to help my daughter and I overheard the Rangers not just telling him how to spell something, but working it out with him. And now they're like super into it, want to do it all around our yard. I am probably not ever going to be into nature journaling, but I'm very into watching my children get into it. And it was really cool to see both of them doing this thing together in their own way.
And these sweet interactions between our kids and the Rangers were what made that experience so rich. And we actually got a chance to share those stories back with Ranger Taylor and Ranger Aubrey. We had a conversation. So we just want to share a little bit of their reactions to hearing about how much their programming impacted our kids. What y'all are doing is sticky.
Thank you. That is so special.
Put us both in our feels immediately.
Yes. I really love hearing that feedback because a lot of time it goes unsaid, and we love to hear it.
That was just a little snippet of a much larger conversation that we were so fortunate to be able to have with Taylor and Aubrey. And we are releasing our very first bonus episode on Thursday so that you guys can hear that whole conversation. And let me just tell you, we had too much fun. This was such a lovely conversation.
And what's really cool is we went on a field trip, but we have not experienced a homeschool day yet. So come back on Thursday and you get to hear Taylor and Aubrey tell you all about how homeschool days work, but also just like their philosophy and vision for them.
Okay, back to the show. I'm just really thankful. I'm really thankful for people who can inspire that kind of creativity in my kids.
And it's the best when you go on a field trip and whatever thing you did or you learn doesn't feel like it just stayed there. Even if it was great, sometimes you're like, that was great. And then it just was like this day in the past.
Uh-huh.
But when it feels like it comes home with you as a homeschooler and becomes now a part of your homeschool, and not only are your kids inspired, but you feel like you're equipped to keep it going
Yeah,
with them, that's huge. Like, that's a really good homeschool field trip.
yeah,
That's a really good day spent. Doesn't matter how long it took to get there or what the temperature was. I mean, it was a lovely day for us. But if it had been
lovely.
90 degrees or if it had been raining and there would have still been that, and you come home and your kids are still doing that activity. My son today painted, he did some watercolor. And then when he was all done, he said, Mommy, I need you to write down the date and the time. And I didn't really know if he had heard that message
Yeah,
on Friday, but here we are on Tuesday, and he
yeah,
certainly did. And
yeah,
the temperature, she also recommended that we do the temperature. And she did talk about how important it is for if you're going to be a citizen scientist. But I also think it's really cool just for your own nature journal
yeah,
because you go draw that tree on March 2nd and it's 65 degrees, but then maybe you draw that tree again on October 25th and it's 50 degrees. And
yeah.
then you draw it again on January 12th and it's 30 degrees. And that tells the kids something about nature too. It was really, really cool.
Well, and we were talking about it afterwards, and I made the comment, this wasn't some big fancy field trip with all the bells and whistles and a really cool show, thinking about us going to the science day at the Braves coming up. That's gonna be a really fantastical field trip. This wasn't that, but this is one of the best field trips we have had. In fact, my daughter exclaimed at the end that it was deemed the best field trip ever with a million R's. She had the best time. So we were in this field for the bulk of the nature journaling thing, and then somebody mentioned that there was a spring. While I'm not Oh, it was you, yes, that there was a
It was
spring,
me.
and I was like, "I'm so sorry, where?" You said water? Where was there water? Because 'Cause I'm a sucker for, like, natural springs and waterfalls and creeks and stuff like that, like, I just they're so peaceful and I love them. And so I walked over and saw it, and I was like, "Well, I have to bring the kids over here." And so I mentioned it, and next thing you know, the rangers are like, "Yeah, let's just all take a trek over to the spring." And so we did, and you take steps down, and then there's this walkway that goes over the water, and then you go steps up to get to the other side. And so we all hung out on this bridge and just talked about the spring, and she told them all about, look for these markers. You can get in the creek down the way, but right here we don't because this is protected Native American waters, and they still do their Native American rituals. And so we want to protect this because it's sacred for them. And she talked about the color of the spring, and we saw tadpoles, and there was one point, and I will put this on socials, where both rangers and all of our children were on their bellies, laying on this bridge, looking out into the water, and it was so cute.
It was so great. And it was cool because they heard that there was curiosity about the spring and they rolled with it and they didn't say, "Oh, you didn't book anything about that." They just went with us and they
Yeah.
guided us. And I thought they did a really great job explaining to the kids about the sacredness of the spring for the Cherokee people. They explained it as we're going to treat that the same way that we would treat a church, because it's a sacred space and we're not going to throw anything in and we're not going to get in. If you want to get in the creek further down, and it is a beautiful trail. That's the trail my son and I walked after our lunch and before the field trip officially started. It's a beautiful trail, and we got down to the point where they said you could get into the creek, and it's like a great little access point. It'd be so easy for anyone to go and get in there. I mean, it was like a very inviting creek.
Yeah.
And they said it's a great salamander creek. So I'm excited to go back and go salamandering, because
Yeah.
oftentimes salamander creeking is like, I'm going to have to stumble down this rocky hill to get to the creek and feel a little bit uncomfortable. But this was like easy in and out of the creek
Yeah.
and easy rocks to pick up. So I'm excited to go back and do that. But they just really were very just responsive to the
Yeah.
kids. We were in a field, but we were also near a lot of the replica buildings
Mhm.
that they have on site. And we actually walked through one of them that's the old barn on our way to the field that we were going to sit in. And my son, the haylofts caught his attention, and he asked if we were going to check them out. And Ranger Taylor and Ranger Aubrey said, "No, we're going to do this nature journaling in this field." And he participated for a little bit. He did some drawing. He asked me to write some things down for him. And we do a lot of nature journaling. I was actually surprised that he was not as engaged as he normally is with nature journaling, but that's because of what he shared with us. And we laughed about it later because so here's what he said. He said, after a little bit of the nature journaling workshop, certainly not over, but like he had definitely checked the box and done what he had been asked to do. He said, "My curiosity is blossoming for the hayloft, and I'd like to go there next."
It was the best moment because he had said when we first sat down, "Hey, how do you think those people put hay up there? How do you think they got it up there? Can we go up there?" And she said, "Well, I do think they put hay there. They probably had built ladders and had systems to put it up there, but also no, we're not
No.
going to go up there."
Mm-mm.
And he respected her answer. We're moving on. We're doing our nature journaling. And I said to you afterwards, it was the most per my last email situation because he very respectfully looked at her. "My curiosity is blossoming for that hayloft. I would like to go there now." And it was like, "I
Well,
am letting you know that I heard you before, but like my feelings have not changed. So this is what we're doing."
and also, maybe if I frame it this way, I will get
Right.
the answer that I want. And he sort of did. She said, "You can go over there, but you cannot go into the hayloft. But you can
Right.
go over." And I could tell she was kind of trying to figure out like how to give him like a boundary. And thankfully in our group, we have a saying, "Can I see a mama and can a mama see me?" So I said to him as he was walking over there, "Hey buddy, can I see a mama?" And he said, "And can a mama see me?" And I said, "As long as that's true,
Yep.
that's how far you can go." And she was like, "Oh, that was great." She also gave us a compliment as a
The
group
highest compliment.
that I was so thankful to get. I know you were thankful to get it, that we as a homeschool group were doing a really good job of
Yeah.
holding the boundaries for our kids and not just sort of dumping that responsibility
Yeah.
on the rangers and us being responsible for the boundaries for our kids.
Well, and the other compliment they gave us was like, "Please come back. We would like to do this with your group
Yes.
all the time." You know, like you want to be the group that they want to come back. You don't want to be the group that they're like, "We hope we never see you again. Bye."
Yes.
So that was really sweet. And Ranger Aubrey actually was homeschooled herself. And as we were getting ready to leave, she was like, "Hey, I know that homeschool moms don't hear this enough. And so I just want to let you guys know, like, you're doing really important work and you're doing it really well." And it was just like, "Thank you." It was so sweet. They were just so lovely. And
Yes.
none
I
of
was like,
it
"I
felt
never wanna
rushed.
leave."
Yes, truly. I mean, my kids were like, "Do we have to leave? This is the best place in the world." And I had mentioned to Taylor that my son is really into maps because my husband likes to take them on hikes. And when we go on hikes, my son really loves the maps to the point that I will catch him in bed with the maps open. He's looking at
I
the
love it.
maps. And so she said, "Oh, well, there are maps. There are free maps up by the visitor center." And so we went up there and got some. And literally, no joke, last night I was putting him to bed and he was like looking around, "Mom, where are my maps?" where are my maps from the field trip? And so I gave him his
Oh,
maps and he sat there in bed and he's like looking through them. So it's just really cool to see these little sparks of interest. And they just took so much time. It was not rushed. It was not rigid. It felt like the most on brand field trip we could have for
yes.
our group.
Yeah. It was so good. And being there and getting ready to go there, I found out that it's free to park in Tennessee
Yeah.
state parks. And so the great news for our group is we had a lot of families that couldn't make it on this field trip, just scheduling wise, or I also feel like it was a little bit unknown. Like I didn't have a lot of answers. I was like, we're just going, we're just going to go try it. Whereas a lot of the places that we go, I usually have gone before, and that wasn't the case for this one. But now that I know how easy it is to get to and that it's free to park, like we
Mhm.
will just go there for our group meetups, but we will
Yeah.
certainly, for our Wild and Free group, be scheduling a field trip in the future. But also, while we were there, we looked at each other and really would like to take y'all
Yes. Homeschooling down south field
podcast
trip.
podcast field trip.
Yeah.
So be looking for that in the future because we
Yeah.
loved it. When we were done at the spring, we went up to like a big field and our kids just like ran and played and
Played.
got so much energy out for a good while, maybe like 30, 45 minutes of just they played tag, they played hide and seek, and it just felt really comfortable. It didn't feel like we were in anyone's way. It just felt so good. And as I alluded to earlier, once everyone else had left, we weren't looking for more, but we just were popping through the visitor center to like use restrooms before
Yeah.
we head
Check it
home.
out.
And, our kids wanted to see the gift shop because they're kids
Yeah.
and kids want to see the gift shop.
Yeah.
But there's a whole historical exhibit inside the
Yes.
gift shop.
And it's interactive. Like the first thing you come to is this massive screen and you can click through and like scroll through newspaper articles and pictures about the park itself. But then the coolest thing that I like totally nerded out over, you go over to this life-size screen and there's a girl standing there. And my daughter was like, "Who is that?" And I noticed there was a little tablet looking thing next to her and it said push to talk. And I was like, "I don't know. Ask her." And so my daughter pushed it and she said, "What's your name?" And then what you say comes up on the screen and the little girl answers you. And so she told us her name. And then the kids could ask her questions about, "Hey, where are you? Where do you live?" So she started talking about her family and how they, had to travel, their horses and their buggies and what they ate. And it was the coolest thing.
Yeah. And they'd ask a question, and while it was taking time to process the question, the girl would kind of like put her finger on her face, like she was
Mhm.
thinking and listening and processing the question, which we know is the computer. But for the kids, it
Yes.
just felt like they were having this interaction, and she would give them options. Do you want to hear more about this? Or this. But also, if they asked something that wasn't one of those options, it was still able to respond. So it was trying to guide the conversation, and it was all of this historical information. And also, my son is, he's 5. So, like, he's not always as clear speaking as
Mhm.
an older kid would be, but it still was able to, even though I saw the text on the screen had misunderstood him, as it processed his question in the context of the conversation they were having, it still answered the question he asked.
Yeah.
It was
It was
really cool.
it was really cool because I feel like it made it real. It made that stuff
Yeah,
real for the kids because they had a person to tie it to. I mean, we had to pull the kids away from it at the end.
yeah. And it was cool because it was auditory and
Mhm.
visual.
Mhm.
It wasn't one or the other. Because I feel like a lot of times at a state park or a historic site, they'll have something that's like a picture and you can push a button and listen. But it wasn't this interactive, and how visually appealing it was made it so much cooler than a lot of the historical exhibits that we
Yeah.
have seen before. And the other side had pelts, and you could feel
Pelts.
the pelts, and just information about more of the wildlife in the state park, which we didn't spend as much time because we had really done that with the rangers, but we were
Yeah.
more on that historical side of the exhibits. It was really cool.
Yeah, it was really neat, and every part about it was really cool, from the programming to then the inside of the gift shop area, and I had told you and one of the other moms, we were talking about our kids, do our kids sleep in the car? And I was like, "Oh, my kids are probably gonna pass out." And I can't post this on socials because 'cause I'm not gonna post my kids' faces, but I'm gonna show you what my kids looked like
Oh, they
on the way
did.
home.
They zonked out. Mine did
They
not.
were out. They were out, but they have talked about how much fun they had, and they can't wait to go back, and
It's a good
the
one.
program started at 1. I think we didn't
Yeah.
get home till after 4:30.
Yeah.
And I mean, we could have stayed there forever. Like, they cannot wait to
Yeah.
go back, and guess what? We are, because while we were there, we found out that they have homeschool days,
Yes.
which we have discovered sell out really stinking fast.
Yes. Because I saw the flyer when I was walking around before the group arrived, getting my bearings. I said, "Oh my gosh, there's a flyer for a homeschool days." And they were coming up one day in March, 2 days in April, and I think 1 day in May. And I took a picture. And as soon as you got there, I was like, and guess what? For the podcast, we can share with our listeners. They have homeschool days. And I even said to you, I know we have something scheduled on this day, but can we move it? Because I'm going to come to this one. But as soon as I got home, I hopped on the website to go sign up. And all the ones that are age appropriate for my son, which was 3 out of the 4, are sold out for spring 2026. Listener, what that tells you is you need to follow Red Clay State Historic Park on Facebook and or bookmark their programs page and pay attention to when they announce registration will open for their programs, because they will announce about a month ahead of the registration opening date. Pay attention and get on there and
Yeah.
sign up for the homeschool days that you want to go to, because they are clearly popular. And we
Yeah.
now know from our experience why they're popular, because they're excellent. But you're excited about another program. Tell
Yeah,
us about
so
it.
they have a junior ranger program over the summer. It's for ages 9 to 12, and it's 2 days, it's 9 to 3, and then the 3rd day, it's 4 to 9, and the 3rd day is, like, graduation, they have water activities for the kids, and it's kinda like family day, like, all the parents come, but yeah, they do all kinds of woodsy, naturey things with the kids during that 9 to 3 time on those 2 days, and I think it's $55 per kid, and they have Red Clay Resort right down the road, which feels to me like the perfect place to go relax and chill while your kids are at
Yeah.
the Junior Ranger program. But I love that they have all this programming for kids that it feels more like my kids. And just from what I saw in that brief hour and a half that we spent with the
Hmm.
Rangers on Friday, I just really feel like kids would thrive in that environment.
Yeah. And there are junior ranger programs at lots of state parks. A lot of the state parks in Georgia do that, but I have not
Yeah.
seen any of them that have that family
Yeah.
evening component where the kids get to show off what they learned and have sort of that like water activity kind of party feel to the
Yeah.
end of it. And that part, I think, makes this one really special. Ranger Taylor did tell us also they have a teen survival summer
Yes.
camp, and she is not as involved in that. She's more heavily involved in the junior ranger. So she didn't have the details for us, and none of the people who were there had teens. So we didn't like pepper with more questions about it. But if you have a teen, it is worth certainly looking at their
Yeah.
teen survival summer camp program as well. And she mentioned they have some kids who have aged out of the junior ranger program, but who are like coming back to help with the younger kids in the junior ranger program. So, like, lots of opportunities, not just for like a one summer thing, but like for growth at
Yeah.
this one place, which I think that's really special. I mean, my summer camp heart just loves that idea. I was at the same
Yeah.
summer camp for 17 summers, started as a camper, ended as a director. And like, I love that trajectory of growth in a place, because I just think it's so healthy for kids to come back to that kind of
Yeah.
place every summer and grow from a camper to a helper and then like the teen program and get to feel their own growth in that one place and with
And
some similar
if
people.
it feels very low risk because you're not packing bags, you're not staying the
Yeah.
night. You
Yeah.
pack a lunch and that's it.
Yeah.
And then, like, you go home for the night. I feel like I can get behind that a lot more. Overnighters are hard for me. So I really like that they get to have this experience and then they can come home.
Yeah, that and being at a state park still gives them, like, a lot of the activities they would do at a sleepaway camp,
Yes.
right? But without being at a sleepaway camp.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And it's
was really
beautiful.
impressed. It's beautiful. Like, we're talking about taking my husband back there because they had beaver blinds where you can go and sit and watch and hopefully see a beaver, which I plan to attempt.
Yep.
Uh,
Dawn and
so
dusk. Dawn and
dawn and
dusk are the
dusk. Okay.
times.
Well, then I'm probably not going to see a beaver at the beaver
They're
blind, but
they're crepuscular. Beavers are crepuscular.
I have no idea what that means.
We know nocturnal animals are nighttime animals and diurnal are daytime animals, but crepuscular animals come out at dawn and dusk.
I learn something new every day.
I learned that from the folks at Arrowhead, so I can't
I
take
love it.
credit for that.
I love it. But they have
Yeah, it
lots of
just
cool
wasn't.
areas that we haven't
Yeah.
explored, and I want to go back and explore them, which is
Yeah.
not my MO.
Yeah. Yes. So we could be expected for me to talk about my win. And if I were going to talk about my win, it would be that Kayla loved this nature space, this nature outing that I felt like I had finally found. Not that, that Kayla hasn't loved a lot of the nature places, but like this one felt like a gift to Kayla. And so because of that, I'm not going to, I mean, I just did share my win, but I'm not going to share my win today. Today, Kayla is going to share her nature win, which is a win for me.
Yes, it's that I found this spot that I want to take my family back to. I finally not that I don't enjoy our wild and free hikes. I love it, but a lot of times when my husband wants to take the kids on hikes, I'm like, "Okay, great. I'll let y'all go do this and I'll take care of the things. This will be some good like me time." But I'm finally so pumped to do this as a family. I want to go back as a family. And just seeing my kids both get so into this nature journaling, and you could just tell they were both really in their element. And my son was so excited. My husband's traveling right now. And so we were FaceTiming, and my son was grabbing his nature journal, showing my husband all the pictures that he
Oh,
drew, the tadpole and the water skaters. And my daughter drew a beautiful picture of the spring and a mossy rock. And I mean, it was just ugh, I just, like, can't even put into words. And they were both just so proud of what they had done and were so into this activity together, and like I said before, I fully expected that from my oldest. It was a
yeah.
surprise that my son was super into it, but it really opened my eyes because 'cause we've kinda found my daughter's niche, like, she is very into art. She wants to draw, she wants to paint, she wants to play the piano, she's very artistic that way. And she really loves playing basketball. We also just recently discovered. But my son, we've tried the sports, we've tried several different things, and nothing seems to stick. But seeing how interested he was in that, I was like, oh, okay, we need to lean into this a little bit more. And so it was just a win for my whole family because now I feel like I'm more equipped to engage in these activities with my family. And it has inspired me, truly. It has inspired me.
That makes me so happy. That makes me so happy.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows where I'll be in a year's time, but we're definitely going back to Red Clay State Historic Park as soon as we can because I think my husband would really enjoy it. And now I really want to explore more of Tennessee's state parks
Yeah,
and, see what else is out there.
absolutely. And we've
Yeah.
got plans to bring our listeners
Yes, I
there.
can't
And we
wait.
even have a plan, you and I, to go have
Yes.
a little
We have plans.
mama's time
Yes.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a great
so many
place.
plans. So, wins abound from this trip. It was amazing. But
Yes.
when we're not field tripping, Kat, where can they find you?
You can find me at Recreating Camp on Instagram and Facebook. And Kayla, when you are not outside with your kids while they're nature journaling, where can the people find you?
You can find me at scratchmadesimple underscore on Instagram and at scratchmadesimple on TikTok. And as always, you can find us at Homeschooling Down South on all of the things. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would love it if you would leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening and share it with a friend who needs inspiration to go state parking or a friend that needs to know about this hidden gem in Tennessee, because we would love for you guys all to be able to check it out as well. And we will see y'all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
And we'll love together, we'll learn together, explore this whole wide world together. No matter where we are, I have you, you have me, and today that's all